I loved her voice, but where did she go? Let's talk about it. Hi guys, welcome to the channel. If you like hearing stories from the 90s, subscribe. Let's get into it. Blue Cantrell, real name Tiffany Cobb, was born in Providence, Rhode Island. She is one of 6 siblings and the only mixed-race child in the family. She has been described as African American, German, and Italian. She told The Guardian in 2003, "I hear a lot of people saying, it was so hard for me growing up the only one. But come on, it's not that serious. Just because we're different races, we're all blood." Her mother was a jazz singer and her father was a professional basketball player who was allegedly abusive. As a result, her parents' marriage didn't last and her mother kicked her father out of the house and raised all 6 kids on her own. But her mother went on to marry multiple times. Blue even joked that she was unable to keep up with the number of marriages. Blue would follow her mother to jazz cafes, photo shoots, and various performances. It was around this time that her musical talent was cultivated. Blue developed her own singing style that was very much influenced by jazz. She told MTV that she was singing before she could even talk. And the name Blue is actually a nickname given to her by her family because she was obsessed with the colour blue. Based on my old thumbnails, you could probably say the same about me. I come from a biracial family. My mother and all my 5 brothers and sisters are white. My mother's family disowned her when she married my dad. He was a professional ball player, and they met in college in the early 70s when racism was a real issue. It sounds like she had a similar experience to Mariah Carey in terms of coming from a mixed race family, especially from the 70s. Her mother took all 6 kids with her to gigs because she couldn't afford a babysitter. They were supposed to stay in her dressing room, but Blue would sneak out and watch her mother perform backstage. This fueled her desire to want to sing herself and spiked her curiosity about what it would feel like to be up there on stage. Her first shot at fame came when she auditioned against thousands of other girls to play the part of Annie in the Broadway musical. She actually reached the final 10, but ended up not getting the part. They said she didn't have the right look. I was kind of devastated by that, so I kept off that for a while. I was kind of scared of performing, and I had a fright of singing on stage. Later on, I grew out of it. After graduating from high school, like many aspiring singers, Blue moved to New York City. At just 17 at the time, she struggled to get gigs and support herself financially. She found living in such a fast-paced, expensive city overwhelming at times, and she took various jobs to support herself in bars, restaurants, salons, and department stores. In 1995, Blue found herself risking eviction from her apartment and was struggling to find money for food. She decided to do some revealing photos. These photos came back to haunt her when her music career took off, but she didn't let it faze her. I was 18. It was uncomfortable, but I had to pay my bills. Blue ended up getting another opportunity by getting into the group 8th Avenue, which was founded by Teddy Riley and the other members of Blackstreet, but it all fell apart after Blackstreet broke up. Teddy and Chauncey Black had a huge falling out, and Blue said when they broke up, they took the members with them. In 2000, Blue's family was struck with tragedy when her sister Kelly was involved in a car accident in Atlanta and ended up in a coma. The entire family flew to Atlanta and rushed to be by her side. Ironically, this actually led to Blue's next big break. Back at her hotel in Atlanta where she was staying, Blue said she bumped into somebody who worked for Red Zone Entertainment. He stopped her and asked her if she was a singer because she just looked like one. I guess it was a pickup line, but he brought me to Red Zone and they signed me after they heard me sing. In one interview, she actually said that Usher was there. I don't know if he was at the hotel or back at the management company, but she mentioned his name and him being part of the whole thing. And thankfully, her sister Kelly was on the road to recovery. Red Zone Entertainment actually got Blue work as a backing singer. She ended up working with Faith Evans, Diddy, Aaron Hall, and Gerald Levert. And Blue was given the opportunity to work with Tricky Stewart, writer and producer. It was Tricky who discovered her talent. He couldn't tell how she sang with the songs from 8th Avenue, so he decided to work on a new track with her. In an interview with You Know I Got Soul, Blue said he played like 3 or 4 notes on his keyboard in the studio, and it was the weirdest thing I had ever experienced, because as soon as he did, I knew the entire song. The entire song came to me. So she ran to the booth and started singing. She didn't even write anything down. It was all off the top of her head.
Now I'm realizing I've been all alone.
She said after she finished, she looked up and there were about 10 people there in the studio. Some of them were even crying. It was obviously a very emotional time because her sister was in hospital fighting for her life. And this is how the song Till I'm Gone was made. Tricky was determined to introduce Blue to Eli Weed. He told her to stick around in Atlanta, and she ended up actually moving in with him and his girlfriend. He played the song for LA and he loved it. He came straight down to the studio and walked straight past Blue, not even realizing that that voice came from her. When she introduced herself, he couldn't believe that she was the one who sang the song, so he asked her to sing it again. Now, she had been up all night looking after her sister, and she said that her voice was gone. She explained this to Eli Weed, and he said that she should just sing what she can. She said when she started singing, she sang better than she did the first time. Eli said, her voice seemed to satisfy that yearning in my soul, not only for a great singer, but also for a sound that I felt was missing in today's music. So he offered her a deal on the spot, but Tricky wanted her to consider other options. Blue was actually eager to sign with Arista, because that was the label of Whitney Houston and Aretha Franklin. LA was determined not to lose her, so he made sure he outbid the other offers. So she ended up signing with Arista, and later Blue would go on to say that she wished she was more educated at the time she signed the deal. She said one thing she would have done differently for sure was to have her own lawyer, rather than the label's lawyer, who looked out more for the label's interests rather than her own. She had a bad deal with royalties and she didn't own her own publishing, which was pretty standard back then. So Blue was released in 2001 to great reviews from music critics. It reached 8 on Billboard, and the lead single was Hit 'Em Up Style. Hit 'Em Up Style reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 and reached the top spot in several different countries. Seen as kind of a man-bashing anthem, the song was produced by Dallas Austin and was supposed to be about a woman who went on a shopping spree after her boyfriend cheated on her. Blue said it was about one of her friends, but she later went on to admit that it was about her when she had the interview with Wendy Williams. But she said there was no cheating involved, it was just a bad breakup. Around this time, rumours began to surface about Blue and Jay-Z. Many believed they dated. Me and Jay-Z were said to have been dating. It was major press. I have to say to you that we weren't. Now at this time, he had already began dating Beyonce, and people assumed there was some rivalry between them. In an interview with The Guardian, where she was quite candid, she said, "It seems people are saying she took him away from you. But that's not true because there was nothing to take. We were just friends." During the interview, Blue was asked about some of the parallels between her and Beyonce. Some even wondered if it was Beyonce's way of sending out a message to address the situation regarding Blue. Number 1, Beyonce and Jay-Z's Bonnie and Clyde video was very similar to Blue's Roundup video that she did with Lady May. Well, the videos at least had a similar theme. The Lady May video had a Thelma and Louise theme, where Blue and Lady May were also portrayed as outlaws, fleeing in the desert. Then just a few months later, Beyonce and Jay-Z's song Bonnie and Clyde was released, with an eerily similar theme. Coincidence? Then we have Blue's first collaboration with dancehall artist Sean Paul for the hit single Breathe. This song was on Blue's second studio album, first without Sean's vocals, but then the vocals were added when the single was released. Now I thought this song was a huge hit that year, and it was, everywhere except for the US. I was shocked to find out that it only reached 70 on Billboard, whereas in many different countries all over the world, it reached top 10 and number 1 in some. For example, it reached number 1 in the UK, becoming Blue Cantrell's and Sean Paul's first #1 hit single there. Then in 2003, just a few months later, Beyoncé collaborated with Sean Paul for the song Baby Boy that appeared on her debut solo album, Dangerously in Love, where she says, quote, "Let me breathe." Were the fans reading too much into it? Or was there something there? Blue was asked about it and said the following. Sighing, Blue said, "I'm an adult. She's younger, and if she's doing what you're saying, then she's being a little immature. Maybe she's trying to do it to get press, but I want to make her understand. If she goes there with me, it's the wrong move. She needs to understand what she's doing and what she's getting into. I'm a master at singing." And yes, the side notes rightly say that she's not being very modest, but Blue did have a phenomenal voice. She really did. I don't have any animosity towards Beyoncé, and I don't like that whole rivalry type of thing. Maybe we should get on stage and battle it out live. Each sing a song, in true beef style. That kind of sounds like a versus battle to me. I mean, I like that idea, but she doesn't want to do that. If she's being negative, she doesn't need to be, because she's a beautiful girl. If you have issues with your man, and I don't know what the situation is with them, I don't want to speak on that. But if you have issues, address it with the guy. Don't take it out on the girl. It's never the way to go. And apparently The Guardian reached out to Beyoncé's record company at the time, that responded with no comment. And some fans questioned why they named their first child Blue. So in the You Know I Got Soul interview, Blue was asked about how her second album didn't do as well domestically as it did internationally, and especially the single Breathe. They asked her if it surprised her, and she said the following. "Yeah, I can tell you that at the time, I wasn't aware of it, but LA was my mentor and pretty much taught me everything I know about the business, and I have the highest respect for him. I don't think I've ever met a person more important to me than him, but they basically took him out. He basically was obsolete as president of BMG Arista, and that's when all of the chaos happened. There was a shuffle, and they weren't really doing their work, and that's why there was really no promotion in the US for Breathe. That might be why it didn't do well there, but everywhere else in the world, it did. The only place that didn't go #1 was the US, though it was like 14 weeks in other countries. It's because they took the man that made me who I am out of the power position." So Eli Weed got his start in the industry in 1989 after he co-founded LaFace Records with Kenneth Babyface Edmonds. The label was a joint venture with Arista. In 2000, parent company BMG bought out LaFace and made Eli Weed CEO and president of Arista. And basically at the same time, ousting the former CEO, Clive Davis. It's believed they wanted someone younger to be the face of the company. Clive was 70 at the time and LA was 45. So from the very beginning, LA had to deal with a lot of criticism and the backlash for what happened with Clive Davis. And there was a huge downturn in the industry around 2003. The artists who were under LA Weed didn't do as well. In 2001, LA re-signed Whitney Houston for a $100 million contract. But the first album she recorded under the new deal didn't do as well as her previous albums. Just Whitney barely made it into the top 10 and was considered her worst selling album of the time. However, to be fair, it did eventually reach platinum status. And Pink's 2003 album, Try This, failed to match the success of her previous albums. At one point, it was at number 99 in the charts, selling just 13,000 in 1 week. So as certain artists experienced a decline in sales, LA got the blame for it, naturally being the CEO of the company. They decided to get rid of him, and this had a profound effect on Blue Cantrell's career. She never released another album after that, despite talking about her hopes to release another album in subsequent interviews. But on a positive note, Blue was booked and busy internationally. She said she toured for 5 years just off the back of the song Breathe alone. And you know that it's touring where many artists really make their money. But she said her third album never really materialized because when LA left Arista, her deal basically went with him. And she said she wouldn't have stayed anyway because she had loyalty to him. At the time of the interview with You Know I've Got Soul, Blue had been out of the business for 8 years. She spoke about being ready to come back and was said to be working on new music. But unfortunately, we never heard any new material from her. Even at the time of this interview in 2012, R&B had changed dramatically. Blue described her sound as jazz and neo-soul, but stressed that her music was essentially timeless and in its own category. You know it's me because I have a distinctive sound, which is jazz neo-soul. I couldn't categorize hit 'em up style. I don't think anybody could. That's why it's being played on so many different radio stations. I don't really like to categorize myself because most labels have a demographic for what type of people they're trying to direct your record to or who is going to buy it. Everything they said, none of it happened. It ended up loved by 70-year-olds to 5-year-olds all over the world. I feel like this album, I can't put a sound on it. It's so new. It's going to be groundbreaking. I think we're going to set a new trend and style. She sounded really optimistic about her future in music and working on new material, despite losing her deal with Arista. Her voice was unique, as was her sound and her look even. It's been decades, and fans have been asking, where is Blue Cantrell? In 2014, Blue was allegedly admitted into a psychiatric hospital, believed to be due to a mental breakdown. A report from BET said, at 2 a.m. that morning, Cantrell, who is best known for her 2001 single Hit 'em Up Style, started ranting about someone trying to give her poisonous gas. Witnesses say the erratic behaviour lasted so long that police were called. Cantrell reportedly referred to herself as a one-hit wonder after questioning if authorities recognised her. The 38-year-old, born Tiffany Cobb, hasn't been in the public eye much throughout the years. Her last album, Bittersweet, was released over a decade ago, and 6 years before this incident, Blue made a brief return to the limelight and appeared on NBC's Celebrity Circus in 2008. And her last post on Instagram was in 2016. Blue is signed to a talent agency and is ready to be booked. She performed at the O2 in London in 2020. People commented on social media saying, "This can't be the same woman who used to hit 'em up style." Another fan said, "She clearly still has a long way to go with her mental recovery though." Now that may or may not be the case, we don't know. But in 2020 at least, she was back to performing, and that's a good sign. And I couldn't find any comments on the actual performance itself. Was she singing well? Was she hitting the notes still? Was she energetic? Was she engaging with the crowd? That's what's important. Blue definitely has a sense of humour, and I'm sure she's not always taking herself so seriously. She's quite funny and very down to earth in interviews, despite what it might look like in that Guardian interview. And this was in 2020, and literally overnight, performances ceased. It does make me wonder how Blue survived that period, with the opportunity to perform being stripped away from her, like many other artists. And she doesn't have a presence online. I hope she's through the worst of it and is able to get back to performing if that's what she wants to do. And most importantly, I hope she's in good health. Thanks for watching. Share your thoughts below, you know I read the comments. Like and subscribe for weekly videos. And don't forget to click the bell for more.